laien gon hakka, maar ruske sies na naut. Valentine has bio, ansen tairi tov na mara, nondoga se furs van le sacher, nan laien fader. Tijd te varen staat in Canada. Ze Valentine has bio, ansen tairi kef na mara, nondoga se furs van le sacher, nan laien fader.
Hello, hi, it's Rose. Welcome. I am your creative guide here at Wild Rose Bohemian and your tour guide for the Grand World Tour 2026. I have a few announcements for you, and in case you hadn't noticed, we've been traveling, which we often do, with the kits, and this year we visited 1889 Alberta, Canada with the Blessed Bounty kit, and then in May, we visited Egypt, 1940 Egypt, and June was Harrogate, England, 1912. And then in July, we came back to America and had the Americana kit. And that whole kit was based again about 1880. So now we're in Scotland, 1912. And this is the current destination, the current stop. If you're curious where else we're going this year, on my website, in the coming soon section is the rest of the itinerary for the year. In September, we'll be in Paris, and 1924, I believe, and then we'll be in the Bayou in Louisiana in 1869, visiting Norway in November, and then Prague in the early 1920s, in Prague in December. So
This has been a public service announcement from the Department of Human Happiness. Thank you for your attention. We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming.
Okay, so let's get started. I just want to briefly show you my signature pages. The Scotland journal has so far quite a different few ways you could go. So I've chosen most of the vintage pages, and I've only used a very few of the scenes that there are, but there's a whole set of scenes that come, and I am telling a story, and I will get to that. You'll have to wait for another video, and that will probably come out before this one, but it's about friendship, and Lady Rose, if you're familiar with Lady Rose from The Secret Garden, she travels here to Scotland to visit a friend of hers, Lady Saunton. So these are the pages that I picked from my signature. I'll just kind of go through fairly fast. So there are a set of pages that are like this that have the like location stuff, and then there's ones that are much less, have much on it that you feel free to load and build with stuff. I've printed my paper on the premium presentation paper matte from Epson. I almost exclusively do that with my signature pages. This paper is called Torn Tartan. These are some of the other background pages that are available that have more. It's a more layered look. So Lady Saunton's family owns a haberdashery, and there are pictures in the pictures of also of her estate that have a lot of things like that. There's pattern papers and more maps. Lots of things that are little travel, either if you're someone that likes more lined papers, there's plenty of those. Just flip through. Gotten some pages. One page I noticed I put in upside down, and that's okay. I'm not sure I even meant to include it. So I'm just going quickly here. This is a combination of quite a few of the different types of pages there are. These watercolor pages are a whole nother set on their own, so they have a little bit of a different tone. I didn't include them in all of the vintage stuff, but they have some incredibly beautiful lassies from that era. Portraits, if you're someone that likes women portraits or human portraits or whatever. Wow. Yeah, so like I said, each week I've got something that is going to be coming out that'll include some freebies. If you're not, if you just want to come for the freebies and enjoy, then come and get to know us and have a short travel with us, or stay and play and stay a bit in Scotland. Let's see. This one is pretty much a very similar kind of idea. It's meant to have a lot of these kind of pages that I can build on with the ephemera. So that is my signatures. I've actually sewn them together, and it's going to be a hidden spine. I've shown this on quite a few of my videos, and so I'm not showing it completely in this assembly. So you'll want to get your signatures together, and I've used a 3.5 inch spine, and I've used 4 signatures, 8 pages each. After I bound my pages, I used a lot of the 3-in-1 beacon glue and allowed it to seep into the little holes here and along the thread. And then I've added on this bookbinding tape on the back so that it really helps to secure and give a little bit of weight to the back of my paper that's going to be going into my journal. Okay, and so what I'll be doing is I'll end up gluing this into the spine. So this is the spine portion, so it'll just kind of sit like this. Let me show you the pages that come with this kit. It'll be a couple dollars on my coffee site, but if you stay and watch the video, I'll give you a password where you can get it as a gift. Okay, so these are the pages. This is the front cover and the back cover, and this is the back spine, and this is the top closure. So this has a lot of the different, I can't show you all of it that way, but it also has a lot of other little bits that come with it. And so what I've done is I printed up all of the bits that I have that I'm going to use to decorate the outside, and I mounted the bits onto cardboard, and then I have inked the edges. So these are some of the bits that I've mounted to get ready to go. A couple of tags, and then I have a bunch of the little corner pieces, some of these little guys, a lock, and just some of these other pieces here. So I'm going to end up gluing those onto the top, but I wanted to have a little bit of a raised feel. It's not necessary to actually put those on cardboard if you don't want, but I did. So that's where I'm at right now as far as beginning. And so I want to show you, okay, the size of the book board that I'm using. I've got 2 6x9s. Those are the front and the back cover. And then the spine on the bottom and the spine on the top. They're both 3.5 by 9. And then I have 2 other pieces that help to make the closure, 2 by 9 and 1.5 by 9. What I've done at this point is I have covered my pieces with the papers that are cut out that fit, and I'll show you how to do that. I also want to show you I'm using the torn tartan as my liner in the inside, so I've cut that and got that ready to go and inked my edges there also. So I've made the torn tartan and the size of the part here of my signature. These are the full 8.5 inches is what this is. Both of those are 8.5 inches. So let me just show you how I put the papers onto my board. I had to redo this a couple of times, so hopefully this will work for you better. So what I'm going to do is where these lines are here, I'm just marking that kind of as my edge here. And I'm not going to slide it all the way, but I'm going to go to the edge like this on each one. And pull it out to the end. I'm also folding this side down so that I'm basically making a corner, but the important part here is to make sure that this folds square at the edges, and then just fold it enough to here on each corner, okay? Again, make sure that as you fold it, you come to the edge and you pay attention to what it looks like on the edge so that it's square there. I'm doing the same thing here, making sure that it's square. Okay. So I now have just made a little template of where I'm going to be able to place my book board. But the thing that I want to do that is really important at this point is that I need to cut out these corners, and it's important that you don't cut into this blue space from here to here. You want to leave that open and just cut off enough of the edge of the corner there. That's going to help us with the aesthetic of what your page looks inside. So it's just going to be like that. And then you're going to add quite a bit of glue to the edges where it comes off, like where your kind of fold line is, where the edge of your book board is. I didn't mention I'm using the Beacon 3-in-1 glue, and then I'm going to just very liberally put it in the inside. I also printed my covers on the koala paper, the koala photo paper. I'll put those couple of things in the description box below. It's pretty much what I do every time, the papers I'm using now every time, so just to let you know. Okay. And you can tell I've done this a couple of times. It's okay to reuse the book board here. So just pushing that into place, and before I get it to dry very much, I just want to check and make sure that I've done this correctly as far as my centering goes. If there's any adjustments that I want to make, looks like we're good. So before I get to the rest of it, I just want to push this in now that I'm happy with where that lies. And I'm going to add a little more glue all the way to the outer edge here of either side here. And then I'm going to push these in, and I'm going to push this down into the corner like that. Oh, bummer. Just see if I can repair that. Yeah, it'll add to the aged look. Okay. Just gonna add extra glue here now. Anywhere that it might, you know, be coming up. And take the time with my bone folder to kind of push this in and straight in. So. Did it again. What happened earlier is that I spilled the glue bottle, and I've cleaned it up a couple of times, but there still seems to be a little remaining glue there, so apologize. Okay, so we're just going to push that in there and then keep that straight so that when we fold this down, both of the cover, the front cover and the back cover, you're going to glue like this. Press it in with your bone folder. Yeah, let's see here. I'm either going to end up covering it, or we're just going to end up, I think we're just going to end up having it look more like a vintagey aged bit. I'm also inking my edges, and I'm setting them aside. So I've got, this will be my front, I've got my back, so I've got those two pieces done. Notice that they're sealed here, and what's very important is to have the top at the top, because what's going to happen is we're going to end up wanting to have a continuous band here that you're going to glue your interior pages to. So when we do the both of the top spines, we do it the same way, except for we're not gluing down the sides, we're leaving the sides open. And I want to be able to, at this point, I need to trim off any of the white space or the white paper that I see at the top there. because that will become visible when I put them together. So you don't want to take away very much, but just enough that you can keep those edges. Nice. I'm gonna ink too anywhere I see white or any places that might show. The white's okay to show a little bit if you add in some of your ink, because it'll help to look at aged. Okay, so at this point I've got the top and the bottom spine and my front and back cover. Okay. So now I'm working with my other pieces here. And what's important here on these is you're going to fold, same thing on the, for the little bit smaller one, the 1.5 inch, the same way you did the other one. Push it down so that those meet. I'm not making this a hard press here. I'm not doing anything on this edge. What I'm going to want to do now is add my glue, like this one here. I'm going to cut the corner just like I did the other one, but not into this portion here. And we'll end up trimming this on this side too, but just a minute here. So just push that in like that. And before you seal that up also, you'll want to make sure that the edge matches there and there and on the sides, okay? Yep. Now I'm going to use my bone folder to just kind of push the top in. Okay, and I can wrap this now knowing about where it's going to lie. I'm actually going to trim a little bit more here, not into the blue part there, but and just so we're actually going to glue this edge down here, but we'll see. Maybe even have had to just gonna trim it even just a little bit more. And we're leaving the one side that is next to the stitching, we're leaving that open. Oh, we do want this underneath here. If that was confusing, I'm going to show you how to do the second one so that it gets tucked in there well. Okay, so I folded the corners there. Now what I'm just going to do is trim those. And I know that this is definitely going to get a trim, but I don't want to trim too much here for now, since I'm not exactly sure how much. Okay. And add my glue. I'm gluing at the part that has the seam that we're wanting to match the corner here. So make sure it aligns with where you'd like. Just press the opposite side in, the side that we're going to keep closed. We wanted to do that first. Now we can see how much we can trim, right? So that we still have a straight edge here, but we don't have the bulk. See how that's a straight edge here and straight edge here. Okay. And we're not gluing down this edge yet. You've now got two pieces here, and they should come fairly close to matching, which they do. This is the edge where your closure will be going, and depending on the type of closure that you're going to use. So for me, I was thinking about using these. I wonder if I should do two or if I could just do one. Let's see what it looks like. So there's one. You can also use Velcro and use these straps if you don't have some of these closures. Let's see. way like that. So the reason I'm placing them there is because I also want to pay attention right now to my handle. I'm going to put my handle on this side of things, and I just want to show you what I'm going to do right now with my handle. What I did is I glued both handles to cardboard and then put them together, and then I kind of let it dry at a little bit of an angle, and now I'm just going to make a little bit of a bend where this is. And pay some close attention to my edges, inking those, right? And that'll be ready to go. I just want to make sure that I'll have enough room there. Okay. So that's about how that's going to go. And I think I'm going to go ahead right now and put those on. They have screws. Let's see, I need to trim this a little bit here. I have screws, so I'm going to screw this in. Oh, turns out I'm not screwing these in. My screwdriver is too big, even, so you'll need a very, very, very tiny one. I have an eyeglasses one, and it's too big. I didn't test that first, so I'm not going to be able to use these on this project. So we'll go ahead with the Velcro, and the Velcro snaps. But you can see that you could use these. Oops, that's disappointing. Okay. So I'm actually going to leave those then. So what we want to do now is grab one of the top here, and we're just going to go ahead and we're going to glue this. Like this. So what you're going to want to do is make sure that your edges match, that they're flush. You want to push it in and probably let it dry with some clips. Oops. Important thing here is to make sure that these edges are flush. I'm going to let this just dry. I'm also going to glue these together. And now I can take this edge and kind of fold that over and press it in, so that what I've got is one of mine, it has a lip here, okay? This is how it's going to end up going together with your closures here. So let's put this together. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're just going along with the right. Let's see. So this is the top. So we're going to want to have the front cover next. So I'm just going to turn this over, like, so that I know I'm in the right order, right? And my next one, that's the spine where the signature is going to go. And then this will make sure that it's also upright. So you'll want to have the bottom facing the bottom here. Slide that down a little bit. And this last piece goes here. So this one I'm going to want to trim the white that's going to be seen. Oops. Let's add glue. Get the main part here. I'm going to glue them together just like that. Again, glue on this side. I'm making sure that my edges on the top and the bottom meet, and then I'm just pushing it together. It's okay to have a little bit of a gap because this is going to be moving. You don't want a lot, but you want, if there's a tiny little bit, it's okay. The most important part is to have your top and your bottom parts meet. Same thing here. Okay, so now I'm just going to check and make sure that this is flush here like this, which it is. Okay. And I'm going to add some bookbinding tape, and I'm adding it below what we see here. Oh, I'm not happy about. So I think that's where something ripped. Right there, I've got a little spot. So I'm just gonna camouflage that because I want to pay attention to my edges here, and also that it needs to be glued. When I add my tape, just want to go from up there to equally as far. And I'm going to do that in each one of the seams. Okay, you can kind of see it's coming together. I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to insert and add my signature. And that's going to go in the center right here. I'm just going to take the time to make sure I don't need to take away any of the tape. What I don't want is tape showing. So if I got tape a little bit up too far, I'm just going to trim it a little bit. Now I'm only adding glue in the center, not off the edges here yet. I'm going to add glue plenty. I'm going to take my signature and I'm going to use, I'm eyeballing it, but before you totally put it in, I want to make sure that it was centered in this way. Okay. And now I'm going to just use my bone folder, where is it, to press in between. Before it totally dries, make sure it is where you would like it. Okay, and then I'm going to also now glue the rest of the edges. Pay attention specifically to this edge, and then lots in here. Just check, see. So I may just let this dry first here like this, so that I'm not compromising the integrity, but you can see how this is meant to fit together. I'm gonna let it dry, and then I'm gonna come back and show you how I put the lining in. But it's coming together. Yeah. Start with this side here. What I'm going to do right now is, I've got my backing paper. I've got a piece for this side here, and it just needs to be probably an inch into this. So this is 1.5. It could be 3.5 inches wide. Doesn't need to be wider than that, but it's the same height as my rest of my inside, which is 8.5. So it's 8.5 by about 3.5. Mostly what I'm paying attention to is, you know, what that looks like there. And you can see that I've gotten my tape up a little bit closer to the edge than I wanted. So I'm just gonna make that correction so that I don't see it. I'm also going to work with the crease really well, since it will be creased there quite a bit. And I can see that I need to have it come down just a little bit more, so while I can still move it, I'm going to move it. Just give myself a little bit of a trick here. So because I pulled it up, I may need to add a little bit more glue after. Let's see here. Yeah. I will be double checking that after it's dry. So I'm going to do the same thing on this side. As you can see, I've slightly rounded the edge, but I've chosen to do that on all the backing papers that's visible, and I chose the same edge. So let's do the same thing here with the glue. Pay attention anywhere that you haven't glued this down enough. If you pulled things up to reposition them, which I did. And now I'm going to add the backing papers to the inside here. And this I'm just to do these corners too, so they're visible. I'm going to do the same thing on the back side. Okay, here's where you'd add pockets if you were going to. These are the illusion pockets that come with it. It's a top and a bottom piece. So basically you just glue the top to the bottom. And I thought maybe they would go nice in here like this. Not sure. Maybe more like that. And I actually think I'm just going to do one, and I'm going to put it on this side here. So I'm going to glue the whole pocket down. And I still am able to tuck stuff in. That's why it's an illusion pocket. I wanted it to look like it was sewn in. Optional, but let me add like 2 pockets. I don't know. I'm not sold on that yet, so I'm going to leave it. Okay, let's pay attention now to, this is still going to need a little additional glue afterwards. I'm going to want to pay attention to now the outside and my closure. So these pieces here have, just like that. So probably going to be about like that, just to make sure. Yeah, so I'm just gonna glue and glue here. I'm not putting it all the way to the edge. So I'm gonna need to kind of gauge where that needs to be. Like that. Not way too much glue, Rose. Gonna trim it. Really made a mess. Do the same thing here, about the same length, but trim it ahead. Before my glue dries, I'm just making sure that it's aligning where I would like. Okay, I'm going to glue on my handle to the larger portion here. It's really just a decoration. You could use some D-rings and make an actual handle if you wanted. I just wanted enough of something to be able to dangle my tags from. And then I'm going to take all of these little pieces here and I'm going to put them on the corners. Okay, you can see she's almost done. I've added my tags here and some Velcro, but she needs some more work, probably lots of inking, a little bit of time to kind of push things in. I may work on getting a little bit of the extra glue off. Oops. Set it down here. Let's just show you here. I think a couple of the edges where I've gone around with the leather, I may pay attention to that here. I had to release this here because I'd glued it too tight. But there are a couple of items in the kit that were meant to be added later that are little leather bits that'll go over. So, but that's, you can see, pay more attention to these edges here. But essentially, that's the suitcase there. So thank you so much for joining me. The password for this is Perthshire, which is the place in Scotland where this takes place, and it's all capitals. So if you're wondering how to get this as a gift rather than paying what the price is listed on the coffee site, you can use the password Perthshire as a gift. So thank you.
Se fuair span le sacher nan lion father. Nan lion father. Hun ik mi lachen voor jou bent een gorma vader falf. Ach had de lord mi angst en togel en tijd te varen staat in kinala. Så väl antjena hästbjå Ansen tajr i käfna mara Munduga se fuer Spannle saker Den lion father. Hansen tight I turn, no matter get it halv na lion shacket. Han så